Sparkly eyeshadow toppers are the easiest way to spice up any makeup look and add a touch of playfulness and fun. They can be worn all on their own, or they can be topped over a matte shadow in your crease, or layered over other shimmers. There's a lot of really great options out there, and it can be slightly overwhelming. And I've tried a whole lot, so before you buy another one, I encourage you to watch this video. First, we have an absolute OG. This is one of the Stila Shimmer and Glow's liquid glitter toppers in Perlina. Now, these have been around for a while and they are a classic for a reason. This formula is actually new to me and I am kicking myself for not trying it earlier because they are so incredibly versatile and there's so many options available. These dry down and stay put. And I feel like recently there have been a lot of brands that have come out with formulas like this. I definitely consider it to be a product that was ahead of its time. This is the shade Perlina and it has a sheer base and multicolored sparkles throughout. And of course I couldn't make this video without talking about Urban Decay Space Cowboy. This is another one that's classic for a reason and definitely their most viral shade in this line. I would describe it as a cool tone champagne and it really does add the most ethereal wash of sparkle. From certain angles, you actually lose the base color and just see a layer of sparkle. In my opinion, that's actually why this shade is as popular as it is. And it really is a shade that flatters a wide range of skin tones. I actually have a whole video where I swatch all of my moon dust, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the cards. Next, we have ColourPop Ritz. This is another one that's classic for a reason, and actually, a lot of people have found that it's a pretty good dupe for Urban Decay's Space Cowboy. This is a super shock shadow, and I want to say this is either like $6 or $8, but in either event, it's definitely under 10. There's definitely a wide variety of textures and finishes in this line, but this is another shade that adds an ethereal wash of sparkle. And I would also describe this shade as an icy champagne. Next, from Kylie Cosmetics, we have one of the wet shimmer quads, and this is the first time that I've tried anything from Kylie Cosmetics. I went in without very high expectations because I've honestly never tried anything from the brand. I want to say this costs around $25, so about half of what an Urban Decay Moondust palette costs. And I honestly think the shades in here are really pretty. You get a super sparkly finish. I would say these are not as intense as the Moondust formula. They're definitely not in general as foiled or opaque. But if you're going for an ethereal wash of sparkle, I think this could be a good option. When I swatch it out, I think you can see that the most foiled shade is the silver one, and even that one is still very piecey. I think this quad is a great value, honestly. And the packaging is quite cute and compact. Next, we have another classic. We have the Half Magic Glitter Puck. This is another one that I've mentioned in several of my videos, but I couldn't talk about sparkly toppers without mentioning it. This is the OG shade that came out, Dopamine Sparkle. It is a beautiful kind of ethereal baby pink. It applies wet because there actually is water in the formula. It has a little sponge to seal in that moisture. But it dries down completely and just look how intense this sparkle is. It also comes in a silver shade called Cyber Diamond. In general, Half Magic has some phenomenal sparkly makeup products, so if you haven't tried them, they are a brand that I recommend. Next, we have Skin of a Killer from Bella Beaute Bar. This is a highlighter, but it actually originally came out as an eyeshadow, but it was so popular that they made it into a highlight and put it in a bigger pan. Think Fenty's How Many Carats, but on steroids. This is a sheer diamond-like topper, and because it was originally made as an eyeshadow, it has a certain opacity that some of the highlighters like this don't have. If you want an icy, sheer wash of sparkle, I think that this is a great option. But I actually have a whole video on diamond-like topper specifically, so I'm going to link that in the cards as well. Next, we have e.l.f.'s Finest Fleck formula that came out last year, and this is the shade White Hot. I want to say that these cost around $6 or so, so they're extremely affordable, and I think that they came out to be a sort of dupe of the Urban Decay Moondust shadows. And these are really pretty. I will honestly say that the sparkle just isn't as ethereal. To me, they just don't hit quite the same, but they are sparkly, they're affordable, they're pretty, and they're a good alternative. Next, we have a topper from a Chinese beauty brand called Red Chamber that I was new to about a year or so ago. This is their diamond topper in Clear Leap. I think this brand is so cool. The packaging, the aesthetics, the quality of the products. And I would describe this formula as being incredibly smooth, and the sparkles are so finely milled. It looks so ethereal and soft on the skin. I will say that because the sparkles are so fine, you might not have the same type of intensity as some of the other formulas that I've shown, but it's an incredibly versatile formula, and it could be even used as a highlight without overemphasizing texture or as an eyeshadow topper. Lots of options with this formula. And here's what all of the shades I just talked about look like swatched on my arm. So pretty. I love seeing these all swatched out. I think they all fit into that category of sparkly topper really well. But let's go ahead and get into the second set of shades that I picked out. Next, we have another option from Half Magic Beauty. This is one of their sparkle sticks in the shade Champagne Snowflake. And this formula, when it comes to eyeshadow sticks, is pretty unique because it has a good amount of sparkle in it, which is just not the case for most eyeshadow sticks in my opinion. I think when it comes to doing fuss-free makeup, like makeup on the go or easy makeup that has a high impact, this is a great option. You really don't even need a brush to make these work. You can just dab them on and blend it out with your fingertip and be on your way. They are a little bit pricey, and there are a good amount of sales, especially when it comes to fall and winter, so just something to keep in mind. Next, we have Fenty Shadow Sticks Diamonds. These are a new item as of the last couple of months or so. And as far as I know, they're exclusive to the Fenty website. These are the most sparkly shadow sticks that Fenty has ever come out with. And I really like these. I think that if you are looking for shadow sticks that add a high impact and high sparkle, similar to Half Magic, you're gonna get that with these ones. Here I'm swatching How Many Carats and Champion. From KVD, we have their Dazzle Sticks. I've talked about this formula quite a bit because I just think they're so good. They have a cream texture, but they do dry down, and they have a high amount of sparkle in them. They will last really well on the eyes. Here I'm swatching Electro Bolt and Dusk Rush. My main wish is that they would go ahead and make this in more shades because I honestly just think the formula is so nice and underrated. Now we have one from Dose of Colors, and I feel like I can finally talk about this formula because I heard that it's going to be coming back in stock later this summer. This is their It's Literally Magic formula in the shade Starburst. They came out with 2 shades last year, and they were wildly popular. They are incredibly sparkly. They're a water-based formula. They dry down, they stay put. And this is just such a nice and easy way to add a layer of sparkle to a makeup look. I honestly really love Dose of Colors. I know they're not talked about that much anymore, but they have very few misses for me. Next, we have a product from Juicy, which is a Chinese beauty brand that I've really come to love over the past couple of years. These highlight sticks went viral last year. They come in 4 shades and different kind of textures and finishes. This is one of the less sparkly shades, but still does have some sparkle in it, more like a pearly finish, and you can use it all over the face. It's actually a formula that's quite similar to the Dose of Colors that I just talked about, and Juicy is incredibly affordable. I think these cost around $10. Next, we have a liquid shadow from Trixie Cosmetics. This is their shimmery formula, and these are incredibly sparkly. It's another formula that I've talked about several times because I just think they're really good. I actually do think they remind me a little bit of the Stila that I talked about in the very beginning, just in terms of being a liquid formula that adds a really intense layer of sparkle. And I really hope to see more shades in this line from Trixie in the future because these are underhyped. And now we have another similar type of product from REM Beauty. This is in the shade Lab Coat. Again, it's a sparkly topper that's in that liquid shadow format. It dries down, it stays put, and there's a great range of shades available. Also, I'm not sure if you saw, but they're taking their most viral shade Fembot and making a whole capsule collection out of that. I actually hope to see that they do that with some of their other viral shades in this line as well. I just think that's so fun. Now from Urban Decay, we have one of their other newer formulas. This is their Glaze On Liquid Shadow, and this is the shade Space Cowboy. I really like this formula. I think it's so fun to apply. I love the little kind of paintbrush applicator. After a couple of minutes, it dries down and stays put, although I will say that I've heard this formula doesn't work for everybody, so if you're gonna try it, I recommend picking up one shade to see if it works for you first. And here's what all of the formulas I just talked about look like swatched on my arm. On the second set here, I wanted to focus more on some cream and liquid formulas, but I do have a few more products to show, so let's go ahead and get into the third part. Now I'm going to talk about my palettes from Cloudicos. This is their Pocket Palette series, and these are some of my most traveled with palettes. They literally fit in the palm of your hand, and they are packed with really special shades. Each palette is inspired by a season, so here I'm holding the Pocket Winter palette, and you can see that you get some really icy tones and a few really kind of deep and grungy tones. I've had some people ask me what palettes I like for travel, and I almost always say these. It's just hard to find travel-friendly palettes that actually have really good, impactful shades in them. This is their Pocket Autumn palette, and you can see that you have a lot more of the warm tones and the fall-oriented tones. This palette also has some satins in it, and even the satins are really pretty. I would say that not all of the shades in the palette are what I would consider sparkly toppers, but certainly some of them are. And each one is so thoughtfully curated and gives such a wide variety of looks. I also forgot to mention Cloudicos is an Australian indie brand, and all of their products are available on their website. And this is the Pocket Summer palette. You get some holographic shades, you get some iridescent shades, some really bright, fun, party type shades. Definitely fits the theme of summer. And here's what those look like on my fingertip, and then what they look like swatched on the back of my hand. Next, we have a palette from Glaminatrix, and I actually just did a dedicated video on this palette. This is honestly one of my favorite palettes that they've ever done, I think because of the shimmers and because of the cool tones. I mentioned this palette specifically because a lot of the shades are sparkly toppers. They have a few shades in here that are basically like super amped up versions of the Urban Decay Moondust shadows. Just lots of possibilities for looks that you can do with these shimmers. And something I like to mention is that all of the Glaminatrix palettes are magnetic, so the pans can be taken out and moved around. Just lots of options for what you can do with these shades. The next brand that I'm going to mention is Diveroon. They came out with a whole palette of sparkly toppers called the Dewdrops Part 2 palette. A lot of these shades are iridescent sparkly toppers. The one shade that I'm going to swatch is called Raindrop because it is sort of that sheer diamond-like sparkly topper. It's definitely one of the most intense versions of this type of shades that I've ever seen. This is definitely a product that I would recommend, especially if you like special iridescent shadows. Next, we have the Suspended Sparkle Balm from Beaute. This is another product that I use quite a bit. It has a balmy texture and is basically like exactly what it sounds like. Sparkle suspended in a clear balm. I personally really like the texture of this product. In general, I really enjoy cream products. So that's part of why I reach for this one as much as I do. And now we have another formula from Juicy, one of my favorite Chinese makeup brands. This is their single shadow in the shade D114. Their single shadows come in a wide variety of formulas. This shade in particular, I think really does fit in that category of sparkly topper well. They do have a few shades in this line that are a bit more foiled, but this one is perfect as a topper. And here's what all of those shades and formulas that I just talked about look like swatched on my arm. In this third set here, I did want to mention a few palettes in case you tend to prefer going for eyeshadow palettes over eyeshadow singles. Of course, there's even more options out there, but I think this is a good place to start. So I know we talked about a lot of products in this video, but there's so many options out there when it comes to sparkly toppers. This truly is a timeless trend and one that I'll never get tired of talking about. If you've tried any of these formulas, please let us know in the comments or any other formulas you would recommend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.